Welcome to Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name's Clint Button and I'm a granite sculptor, and welcome to video number 10 of the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Going to start in a little bit about tools before we start cutting stone here. I use a diamond saw to relieve the stone to make some initial cuts in order to cut the stone out faster, to give it some ways to break to. It speeds things up. I don't spend all my time grinding the stone with these and shaping it. Some people, that's what they do, that's what they love to do. It's not what I do. This is just a faster way to open up a channel than to use a ripper or something like that, or to drill it and use a channeling bar. Depends on the job. But I want to explain the difference between blades real quick. This is a mahogany granite because it's got a really large crystalline structure. It's got very large pieces in it. And so, but it's still a granite. When you're cutting stone with a diamond blades aren't all the same. See if we can get this up to where it shows. These diamonds are essentially plated on top of the tool. I thought there was a loss here. Yeah, right here you can see. If I can get that in the camera, you can see there's a spot here where there's no diamonds on there. It's just the tool. It just came off like it's been glued onto the stone. This is for a soft stone like marble, where the diamonds are much harder than the stone, and the stone isn't going to damage the diamonds at all. And this will last for a relatively long time on soft stone if you're doing limestone or marble or whatever. This is what you want. It will cut aggressively and it will last a long time. Now, if you put this on hard stone, what happens is that it fails. The diamonds aren't stable enough by themselves in order to cut the stone, and they get wiped off. Like the edge of this is pretty well junk. I saved this as an example to show people. This won't cut granite. I don't care what the dude at the store says that doesn't know the difference. This won't cut granite. To cut granite, and this isn't my favorite design with this continuous rim. I prefer to have a segmented rim because it handles the heat better. It doesn't heat up all the way around the rim as fast. This has, there's a lot fewer diamonds that you see. They're actually buried in the bond. They're contained within the bond. And so in order for this to cut, this metal has to wear away to expose new diamonds to cut the stone. And this is for hard stone. Okay, this won't cut well on marble because it won't cut fast enough. It has too few diamonds, and it'll build up heat, and you'll end up having a thermal issue with the stone, and the stone will fracture. So this isn't for marble, and this isn't for granite. It's important to know how hard your stone is. Most people probably carving limestone or marble, you'll use one of these blades that have the teeth on the outside. But if you're doing stone, if we call granite stone because everything else is softer. If you're doing stone, you have to have the diamonds actually embedded in the metal, where the metal has to be worn away to expose new diamonds, and it'll cut very effectively. Now, either one of these wheels, if you heat them up, as soon as they heat up, they'll thermal. It'll do a little rainbow, and it's junk. That wheel will grab and pitch right out of your hand. The whole grinder. Now, like I said yesterday, this work can kill you. You will have a piece of this wheel stuck in your head. It will go right through your glasses. It will stick in the forehead or your cheek. It'll take your teeth out. If you're not smart enough to do this job carefully, don't do it, okay? Watch somebody else do it. But this is dangerous stuff. I don't have guards on these. That's also dangerous stuff. That's my danger. It's what I'm doing. I'm not saying you do it this way. You can use it however you want. This is what I'm used to doing. I know that there's a certain depth. This tool will cut about 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches before it bottoms on the machine. The smaller grinder will cut about 3/4 of an inch. And it's a lot easier to cut more later than it is to go back and put stone on. It just doesn't work. So I'm going to do most of this job with this small one. But You can use water, just a dribble of water, to keep the dust down if you don't have suction. Jim used to do that in the studio. He did everything with water. He wore a wetsuit, you know, just overalls and rubber overalls and apron and boots all the time, and carved everything like that. So, but let's sharpen some tools. I'm going to put a graphic up of how to sharpen a 9-point. This rough-in work will be done with what's called a 9-point. The 9-point is a bushing tool. Now, as these dull, you have to sharpen them. And so this one's pretty close to sharp. I'm going to sharpen it just to tune it up a little bit. And I'll put a graphic on the video towards the end to show you how I did it. I'll start with a narrow wheel that's dull. And I'll use that dull end to get my depth to dig down in between the teeth. And after I do it 1, 2, 3, 4 ways, then I will sharpen the wheel. I'll dress it with an old worn out diamond blade to use the diamonds in it because it was free. I'm throwing it away. I'll use an old worn out wheel. I'll dress it to a sharp V, and then I'll go to my depth, the full depth, down to the bottom of the V with that sharp point. Instead of sharpening the wheel and then grinding it off and trying to get this depth, I use what's there first, and then I'll lower the edge, and then I finish the ends on a regular flat grinder. So I'll put a graphic up to help explain that. People don't understand how to do this. See if we can get a little bit of video of me sharpening this tool real quick, and we'll start cutting. Okay, one of the reasons I like this apron with this configuration that I mentioned yesterday is that I can put it on over my head easily compared to, I just have one clip. I don't have to fight with 2 or 3 straps. I'm only holding the tool easy. I'm letting them do the work. I'm just keeping them from running away. All I want is a spot big enough for this to set. Okay, that's not very flat, so I've got to tip it to make it look good. Remember, I'm creating the level here. It doesn't matter where this is. If you've got a piece of metamorphic stone or just a scrap that doesn't have any flat sides, this is how you put together a bottom on it, even if you have to put a various amount of wedges and sandbags or something under it to stabilize it. When you see people hitting on a stone on YouTube and the stone's rocking all over the place, they're not accomplishing anything. They're just putting on a show. Your stone needs to not move so you can put the energy into the stone and not into making it dance, because dancing doesn't cut stone. It's important to understand I'm not using the corner of this chisel to cut depth. I'm using the whole chisel. If I want to cut depth, I'll grab a round chisel and cut it deep. So we'll keep working. Get this wrapped up. Okay, that pad's pretty well dressed for right now. The one block will sit there, got room for it. Not worried about being perfect yet because I got to do the whole rest of this, but this is going to give you an idea that as long as that thing is still crooked, if you get it to where it looks kind of level, it could even go a little more. You're going to start understanding how much stone you really have to take off over here in these other areas. So, like I mentioned, if you're going to take off stone, you need to use a round chisel, not a straight chisel, not a corner of a chisel. You need to use a round chisel. So we'll set those out because I need one for this next spot. I'm going to go over here and start hogging this away. I have my saw plugged into a power strip that's on my lamp. That's where it stays. That's where I run everything for power out here. So, because I'm always working close to my light. This type of rough out work is the kind of work you save for your old chisels that are almost out of carbide. Because if it breaks doing this, that's no big deal. If you're doing fancy work, finish work, you know, what happens when the nose falls off or you blow off a finger? Doesn't happen to me because I'm careful. But I won't use a short chisel on important work. This is not important work. This is rough out. So you save them when they're down to the end of the carbide, like this one just has a couple sharpenings left, and I'll use it up. When you cut right into your suction, even if it's a shot back with a funnel on it, cut right into it. Work your way into the cut. Don't force it. easy way to make a mistake here is I know that this is only going to cut about 3/4 of an inch here. Now if I come out here on the edge and there's nothing to support this, it'll go clear into twice that depth. That's a fail, buddy. You'll forget, and you'll go and saw real deep, and there'll be a big old gash that you can't get rid of. So you got to be careful. Pay attention to where you're at. And I always try to hold my saw. I don't get in line with the blade, so if this lets go, it doesn't kick me in the face. And I always try to have the saw in a way that if it does snag and kicks, that it's not going to go upside my head, because it will. Now with this relieved, it's really easy. It's a round chisel. Got to be careful when you're doing this, because if I pushed really hard here, this whole corner could pop off. I don't want that. It's also, if you have a saw like this and you push it really hard when you're breaking it, like if you're using a handset or a hammer and a chisel, it can dig below your cut and you can lose an extra 1/4 inch very easily. Now I'll take the 9-point, clean it off. Okay, I hope you're looking at my posture, because I'm not dragging my hand on the stone. I'm not gripping the chisel. I'm just very relaxed holding it and controlling it. That's why the granite tools have 4 sides. It makes them easy to control. A marble shank that has 6 or 8 sides is round, and you can't hold it and manipulate it as easy when you're putting that much energy into it. So now I've got a spot that's as big. This isn't deep enough. This isn't level. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lower this down until a plumb block on each side says it's level. I've still got to go about 1 inch. So I'm going to keep doing that. ripper. It cuts a slot just like a saw does, except you use it with your hammer. Back and forth, so I'll do this to get this last little bit. I don't have good clearance. I'm trying to leave this edge on to give you a perspective on how much stone I took off. Then I'll cut it all off. Normally I just cut it off, but I want to show you all what I'm doing. So I'll go this last ½ inch with a ripper so I can get close. I'll put some lines in it. I'll take the 9-point and the chisel and clean them out. We'll scrape it. We'll see where we're at. About 3/8 of an inch. All right, let's check this out. We'll put a plumb block down in here, plumb block here, put a straight edge between them. It's not quite level. I'm gonna go about, not quite 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna go down slow and not overshoot it, because it's real easy to go too fast and take off too much. And there's no reason to do that. It's doing it twice. Do it the right way the first time. So I'm going to rough it up with the 9-point. Maybe do the edge a little bit, and then I'll finish it with this 2-blade. See, it's got 2 blades. Kind of like a wide ripper. It'll just lower a surface. All right, I want to show you. I'm just about there. I want to take this off here in a second, and I'm going to show you. Okay, these plumb blocks are the same exact height. That's important. So that one's there, that one's there. And that bubble looks pretty good to me. So now what I'll do is I'll take and do the same thing over on this corner, and over on this corner, until that bubble's level. Then I've got my foundation for my plane, the base plane. You'll see how deep I cut here, how much stone will come off. And there'll still be some to come off the bottom here when I spread. So this will be a smaller piece of stone. We'll also have to calculate in the lowest part. We end up defining our edge to go around to transfer it. So I better go out and check this video. It's probably getting kind of long, and we'll just split it up so it's a short bite. You can watch the next video. I'm going to keep going. We'll come back. I probably won't show quite as much, but this is literally how you do it. This is how you cut a flat face on a stone, and your stone shouldn't move. If it wiggles around, stabilize it. Don't hit a stone that's jumping around. You don't have any control. It's ridiculous. And if you're doing it by hand, you just use your hand swung tools. Something I will mention, it's important when you're swinging on soft stone, a short stroke pneumatic hammer cuts soft stones faster than a long stroke pneumatic hammer. You use a bigger pneumatic hammer for more mass or more inertia behind each hit. You don't use it for a longer hit. So if you trade up and you're doing this in soft stone and you're using like that big poly mallet, you're not supposed to be swinging for the bleachers on the other end of the ball field. You're just supposed to be swinging the same short stroke, but you've got more mass hitting it. You don't need to go reaching back and wailing on it. People do that, and you watch them when they hit, their chisel jerks all over the place. That doesn't do you any good. Your chisel should go in a nice straight line when you're hitting that soft stone, just like when I'm doing this hard stone. I want to control my chisel. So we'll probably start the next video so I don't run this one too long, because I'm sure we're getting up into the time. So this is the beginning of how you actually square a panel, showing you how I run the tools, how I don't squeeze them to death, how I sharpen some of them. There's a graphic I'm going to stick up wherever it fits, whether I may be able to fit it back where I sharpen that tool. And we'll have a full session on sharpening tools before too long. But just to get you started, before people got frustrated thinking all I do is run my mouth and doesn't cut stone, this is how you cut stone, and this is how long it takes. So once again, my name's Clint Button here at Carolina Sculpture Studio with the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Thanks for coming in.